Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and earn even more money, all in one place, and it's for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup looks like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since we discovered Spotify for Podcasters, we feel like having options like video podcasts, Q&A, and polls has let us be creative on a whole other level. I highly recommend you give it a try. So download Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Welcome back, X's and T podcast fans. It is Danny here. I'm really excited to be here as always. I have a guest that I have had on before, and I'm really excited that she's coming back to talk to us. So I got to give my quick disclaimers. We're going to be talking about Worldwide and Amway. And let me tell you guys, I don't like these organizations. If you're new here, hi, I have beef with them. And I say that because so many people now, if you're new here, you need to go scroll through because there are story after story after story about why these organizations are not good. That being said, I'm not here to defame them. You know, if you're an adult, go join Worldwide, go join Amway, like do your thing. I would encourage you to listen to somebody's stories ahead of time because you might have a different perspective. Maybe just proceed with caution. All of the names have been changed of anybody that we're going to be talking about today. And don't sue me. You know, I can't say that enough. So you guys, I'm really excited. I have Nandi back with us. If you guys don't remember Nandi, she had a hell of a story. And let me tell you, she's not done. So Nandi, welcome back.
Thank you.
How's your healing journey going? I know for you, it was very, very fresh, especially when we had first spoken. And now it's like a couple months at this point.
Yeah. It has been a couple months since we recorded. Yeah, I've started a new chapter of healing. When I talked to you, I was still in the living situation with my ex, not officially diagnosing him as a narcissist, but I mean, all of his behaviors and traits add up to that. And that's what I experienced was narcissistic abuse. So I was still in the shared living situation with him and honestly in survival mode and just trying to cope and function. And now I am in my own new home, my new apartment. I'm in a place where I can begin healing again for real. And some of those wounds, not some of them, all of them are opening up again in a less detrimental way. Like I'm not going through daily panic attacks and crying every 5 minutes and rapid weight loss and no appetite and all that stuff. Like I'm functioning. I'm pretty healthy. I'm doing a lot better in physical health wise, but like all of the wounds that I kind of just put like a temporary band-aid on just to get out of that situation and survive that, they're open. And I am kind of searching for the things that I need to do to fully heal from this. And I know it could take years or a lifetime because it's not just like a standard breakup where someone hurts you and you get closure and you heal and you move on. It's trauma on trauma on trauma. I had a narcissistic spouse. I got out of a cult. My self-image and my identity was under attack daily for 4 years. So it's very, very different than just a normal breakup. And I'm going to claim PTSD. But I'm on the journey. That's all I can say about the healing journey is that I'm on it.
But that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And I think that, and we talked about this before, where the intricacies of this healing journey are so different. And it's different for everybody who leaves this type of situation. But with you, it's like you're leaving this cult that had kind of a hold over you for so long. And you are leaving the people that you thought were going to be your best friends and your spouse. Like, it's so much at once. And of course, I'm not a professional here, but I would definitely agree that, you know, you probably do have some sort of PTSD from this. And quickly on that note, y'all, you know, I'm going to say this, that when we talk about narcissism here, it's because we've done our research and we know what this word means. We don't throw this word around lightly. I think a lot of the times we're even afraid to say that we've had a narcissistic partner or parent or somebody else because it's a scary thing to admit out loud. Narcissism is not just tied to a personality disorder. It can be something, as far as I'm aware from what I've read and from what I learned in therapy, that you can just be born with this trait. It doesn't necessarily mean you have narcissistic personality disorder. So I just want to say that I'm not a professional, but we are allowed to say these things because we're survivors. And I would imagine that, you would understand that as survivors, we want to speak on that. So had to say that out loud. But I am really glad that you're here to come and digest and process. What brings you back with us today?
I definitely I love and appreciate the work that you continue to do. I've listened to every episode that you published since mine came out, and honestly, the stories just get wilder and wilder, and it's like so sad. Like I laugh at some of the retellings, and also like my stomach and my heart just drop listening to them because I'm like, damn, I had it bad. But also some people had it worse. But also we all had it really, really fucking bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to give updates, maybe kind of give an insight to what like the journey of a survivor and a worldwide escapee looks like. And also, yeah, so give you life updates and then just kind of give more insight into what it was like when I was in there. So partly worldwide, partly a narcissistic marriage. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're absolutely right. Some of the people who we've had on are so funny. I know Jada specifically. She is hilarious. Like
Mhm.
I remember talking to her and I just like laughed so much. Like I had to mute myself and I had to edit out a lot of laughing. She is hilarious. She's awesome. So it's October, you guys. Hi, October. And it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. If you guys were not aware, October is Domestic Violence and Intimate Partner Violence Awareness Month. Purple ribbon is symbolic to domestic violence and intimate partner violence awareness. As we were kind of talking about that, you had a story in particular that really just was so relevant to this topic. So I'm going to go ahead and let you tell that story.
It's not a pleasant story to tell, and it's not long, but yeah, it's just sad. We had a partially registered downline. She was in depth of one of our downline, and we were really excited. Like I was so excited to get to know her and be friends with her. She was so cool. She had worn so many different hats, been in so many different careers, and was just like a badass woman. And she had I think a 1-year-old son, and she was so cool. We had started the registration process with her, and then somewhere in the midst of that, her life kind of erupted, and she shared with us that like her partner was violent, dangerous, abusive guy, and that she was trying to get her and her baby away. And she was scrambling to look for places to live and like just wanted to escape. And like I was just like, when she came to us with that, I was like on it. Like I'm like, no, like I'm 100% in support of you. Like because there's so many women that don't get the chance to leave, they can't leave, or they don't realize that they need to leave. And like you're at the point where you're ready to leave. I'm here, let me help you. Like I called everyone I knew that could help and give like send resources so we could get her where she needed to go to be safe. So I even offered to go like to court and like be a witness or just sit there as like emotional support for her. And she's like, no, I don't need that. I also don't want you to be targeted by him. Like I don't want him to show up and start like following you, because she knew that he was the type to like threaten her friends and stuff. Like if he knew that they were letting her stay with them or like helping her, like he would send people to antagonize the people that were helping her. But this one morning, my ex and I were on the phone with her, and I was like, we were listening and also advising. Like she wanted to get on the road, she had a job, she had to get the baby. She didn't want to go back in the apartment, but that was where all of her cash was stored that she would need to survive and stuff. She was a waitress, so all of her tips were in cash. We were just kind of like talking her through it, and she saw people that were like her partner had sent to her place of work, like kind of scoping and stalking the perimeter of her workplace, like kind of waiting for her so they could follow her and stuff. And I, knowing what I know, or what I knew, not that I had been in that situation before, but from like being open, from listening to fellow women, to reading their stories, like talking, researching, like just being educated on the topic and realizing the steps that need to happen to safely leave a situation like that, I was like, okay, you have somewhere to go, right? She's like, I'm gonna go to Vegas. I'm like, okay, your car, before you get on the road, because she was gonna leave from work, I was like, before you get on the road, go to a mechanic and have them check the car for trackers, have them check the tires, have them check the engine, because that's a thing. That's a common thing where the abuser will track your car, and then you did all this work to get far away and they know exactly where you are. So it doesn't even matter. So I just told her that, like, I was trying to say that to her because it's a very valid thing and like precaution to take. And then my ex is like sitting there like trying to silence me and shush me up, mad, and he's like muting the phone and stuff and like having like side conversation. He's like, don't tell her that, don't, stop. And then after we get off the phone, I'm like, why would you sit there and tell, like, what is your problem? And he's like, you're just stressing her out, you're making her paranoid and panicked and stuff. I'm like, you have no right to speak whatsoever on she is a woman. If something happens to her because she didn't go and get her car checked for trackers, like because you didn't want to scare her, she's already scared, she's already in danger. Like, it doesn't, there's no point in not being smart about it. Like, how dare you silence a woman trying to help another woman get out of this situation? I was like furious. It was just like so offensive, just so many levels of wrong and toxic. That was an argument. We argued about everything. And then of course it came up in a conversation with our upline later. And I was like, you really tried to like silence me when I'm trying to help someone get out of a domestic violence situation safely. And then like they didn't really address that, of course. So a red flag would have been a red flag, but we were already married and in it at that point. But I know that I started to be concerned that our values were just very different and not aligned, because how dare you? Like, I just still, I'm perplexed at that type of response, like telling someone who probably has way more insight into a situation than you, telling them to be quiet so you can gloss over the situation when it adds no value to the victim.
I think you handled this really well. It sounds like you put yourself almost in her shoes where what needs to be done. You did research, you were giving her very valid advice because it's true. I mean, the most dangerous time in a domestic violence or intimate partner violence relationship is leaving. In those moments, it is horrifying, it's scary, and it's dangerous. And I think that you had valid concerns for her, that maybe she was in so many different places in her mind that maybe she hadn't thought of that. So I think that's a very good piece of advice. And it really is disheartening to hear that at the time, who was your husband, this person that, you're, like you said, you would imagine that you guys had the same values, is quite literally telling you not to advise the best that you can. And really, I think what's great about how you handled it too is you did your research. You weren't pretending to be this professional who was trying to, fix a situation. Like, that adds a whole level of just caring and compassion, whereas a lot of other upline don't do that. The fact that even your upline was telling you guys and did not speak to how horrible it is that he tried to silence you by giving this woman advice who was desperately like telling you that she needs to leave the situation. She has a child. Her child's probably in danger too. It is scary. Was this person able to get away? Did they thankfully get away?
I know she made it to like out of state to the place where her safe destination for a while, and she had the baby with her, but then she ultimately had to come back because of like some legal stuff. I think she was accused of like kidnapping a child. She had to remain in our state. There was a whole lot of drama back and forth and like court cases and stuff, and basically she ended up having to give her son back to him while she fought for him. And I was like, that's so fucked up. And then like understandably with like her needing to work and trying to deal with all of that, like it faded and she never completed getting registered and stuff. And like I was sad because I wanted to stay in touch and I wanted to be supportive, and I did reach out several times over the course of like a year, and she would respond sometimes and be like, yeah, let's meet up, let's get lunch and stuff, thank you for checking in. She'd send me pictures of the baby, and I just wanted, like, I genuinely cared about her. but like we never got to like meet up or anything. And eventually like communication just stopped. So I'm hoping that she's okay. But there was always like, before it fizzled out, like there was always like the check-in, my ex and our upline, like, hey, she has a better rapport with you. She trusts you more. So you reach out and see what's up with the business. Like, is she gonna register? Is she gonna show, like, I'm like, she's running from someone that's trying to hit her and steal her baby. I don't, okay. It's not really a priority right now. In what way is paying $600 a month gonna help her?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
that was what they cared about, was getting her onboarded. And I was just kind of sad because I was really looking forward to being friends with her. Like, all that chaos aside, she was super cool.
Wow. Well, I hope she's okay too. But I think your heart was definitely in the right place. Them speaks volumes to the type of people these people are.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about this kind of before we started recording. And I mentioned this in an episode that I released previously, but like reconnecting with old upline who are still involved in the business is very challenging because we recognize that they're still very brainwashed. But this is the type of stuff, like, how can you ignore this? Like, and I understand they go out of their way to make sure that people don't listen to this kind of stuff. But I feel like the moment you hear a story like this, if that doesn't plant a seed of doubt, I think you're probably just as fucked up as they are, if I'm being honest, because this is not specific to just this line of sponsorship. I wish I could say that it was, but it's not. This kind of stuff is happening in all of worldwide, in all of Brit worldwide, in all of URA LTD, like all of these different organizations and different MLM cults. Like, this is what's going on. We're not like, it's not, and I hate saying that because this situation is absolutely horrible. Like, I wish I could say, yeah, this is probably the only like one time this has happened. And unfortunately it's not. And it really hurts, especially as a survivor. Like, I recognize how, like, I've been on both sides of it, where I've had a friend who, and this was after I left my situation, who was in their violent partnership. And it's really challenging because when they finally get to that spot of I'm going to leave, it's because something bad enough has happened. It's not an easy step to get to. You have to imagine all of the different things that have already taken place before somebody finally opens up their eyes and says, I need to get out of here. So to hear that somebody is like trying to almost discourage that is really fucked up. But it's not just the intimate partner violent aspect of things. It's people who are trying to leave worldwide too. Like, when we finally decide that we're going to leave, it's because something bad enough has happened that made us be like, okay, this is fucked up. I need to get out. I need to leave. And for some people, it's easier than others. And it's really sad. But one thing that you had said was that you started to realize that you and your then husband had different values. How did that kind of transpire, where you're starting to realize, like, okay, we're not on the same page, and then seeing how your upline handled it too?
Yeah, I think like foundationally there are things that we disagreed on, like how we would handle things or just worldviews and stuff, that I figured, hey, everyone's not like a marriage isn't going to be made with like cookie cutter, like duplicate, like we're not going to be twins. We're going to have different viewpoints, and like, if like we love each other enough, like it'll work, you know, it's fine. We'll just work around the differences and stuff. But like the important stuff we're on the same page about, I thought, anyway. But like we just argued from before our legal marriage to the very end. It was just arguing with like a few sprinklings of good days here and there, and thinking that things were getting better. There were a few months where it seemed like it was getting better and healing and stuff and becoming a better couple. And then it all fell apart after his father passed away last Christmas. Upline poisoned his ear against me, but also I don't know how much to blame them for, to blame the cult for, or to blame narcissism for, but some wonderful blend of the two brought me to where I am. And like, honestly, I didn't even choose to leave Worldwide. It was chosen for me. I didn't quit. I was kicked out. Essentially, I asked to take a step back for my mental health and just do less, like attend less meetings and still participate, but just do less. And then that triggered, like I talked about in the other episode, like my upline destroying or planting the seed of destruction for my marriage. And even after that point, like I was still in it, and I was like, well, fine, if we're not going to be together, I'll just I'll show him. I'm going to have my own business. I'm going to go evil. I'm going to go diamond. I'm going to beat him diamond. And those were my first thoughts, was like how I was going to like break off from our business and build my own business. Then like realizing like how I hadn't heard from them. It's 6 months now. I haven't heard from them in 6 months. Not one check-in, like, hey, how are you doing? How are you healing? Are you okay? We miss you. Like, nothing, except for the one Amanda that I told you about. Yeah, somewhere along the lines of that, I realized like that I've been in a cult. I realized how toxic it was. I think around the time that I found your podcast and found the Facebook group again, I was like, wow, no, this shit is diseased and I do not want to be a part of it. But yeah, Amanda, we had stayed in touch throughout most of it. She was a big emotional support to me early on. And like I really valued her friendship throughout all of it. But I recently had to send a breakup text to her. Like I had to end our friendship, and that sucked. That I was angry. I was even angrier worldwide because like it destroys lives. It sucks breaking up with someone that you like who hasn't abused you simply because they're still affiliated with and associated with and friends with your abuser or abusers. They're still brainwashed. They're still like, I don't want to be reminded of those people. I don't want to be reminded of the association. I know how you spend the majority of your time, and like I just don't. Like you're still supporting and coaching and mentoring and hanging out with my ex who abused me emotionally. And like I just can't. Like she's a great person, and I do hope that one day she leaves, that she and her family leave. But I can't be around that. Like I need to, for my healing journey, to go back to that. Like I can't be in close proximity to that. So yeah, it just sucked. Like ending a friendship that I wanted to keep in my life forever. Like I considered her a best friend, and she was a bridesmaid for the wedding that we were supposed to have a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it really blows.
Yeah, I see why you did it. I really do, because you're right. They are still brainwashed. And I think you did the right thing to heal and be away from that, because staying tied to something like that is already really rough. But it sucks because like you found one good person and like an organization of like really bad apples. And it's like, I can imagine how hard it must have been to want to tell them like, please leave. Like, this is not good for you. Like, this is horrible. Like you and your husband, just, we both know how that goes, right? You can't. And then you kind of start to look at, does it become a superficial friendship at that point? Like, is that kind of how the way that it has to go because they're still in worldwide? And we were talking about that too, was reconnecting with old crossline. Same thing. It's very superficial conversations. They are still brainwashed. They are still listening to those people in their ear. And there is no, at least for me, I'm like, there is no genuine in that until they can leave. So I'm so sorry that you had to break up with your friend.
Thank you. Yeah, and totally agreed on that. It was like I contemplated it a lot before I actually sent the text. It was like, can we just be friends and just like not get into the deep stuff and whatnot? And then like, no, like our friendship was very deep and vulnerable. We talked about real shit like for years. And I don't have the capacity to entertain like shallow surface level friendships. I don't need acquaintances where we're just talking about the weather and like aliens and stuff. Like as fun as that can be, like I need a friendship of substance. I don't like, especially during this new chapter of my life, it just wouldn't make sense for me to keep someone around just to like have like coffee dates about nothing, you know?
Yeah.
I don't need that.
Yeah.
So, and also feeling like I couldn't trust her because anything I would say to her about, even if it was just like, I would think of innocent life update, like, oh yeah, I moved, here's my new place, come over, have a glass of wine. Like it would get back to the other upline. And like, I don't know what they are willing to, or hoping to know about me, use against me, think negatively of me, use me as a story of failure to discourage other people from leaving, to tarnish my name. Like I don't want them to know shit about me, except for I hope they do find this podcast or your podcast, and I hope they hear my episodes. But as far as like where I live, what I'm doing, I don't need them to know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think she gets how toxic, because she's brainwashed still, I don't think she gets how toxic they are. So she would just like probably casually, innocently say like, oh yeah, I went to Nandi's and she's doing great and blah, 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 possibly endanger me in some way.
Yeah. And it opens a whole new can of worms too. That's just like that you've worked so hard to like either not open or keep closed. And you're right. It's Because when you're up, when you start to think about like, what is this person going to tell my upline? Because I mean, it's bad enough that, you're thinking about like the fact that your ex is all entangled into all of this. That makes it so much more complicated. But just getting back to your up, I think about that stuff too. I mean, then again, with this girl, she can go tell her upline. They already know. If they want to know, they can come. They can come listen to the podcast. I'm not going to entertain their bullshit, but it really does. You're right, and I think that when you said accidentally put you in danger, I think that is good intuition on your end to really consider that. I bet that's new. Like when you're in worldwide and you almost push aside your intuition. What is it like now for you getting to really listen to your instincts and your inner self and follow through with what maybe feels good or like, no, that's bad?
I'm still learning like how to like be at peace. Like people are like, look, you're in your own space. You can just like the therapist is like, take up space, be in your space. And my friends are like, sing, blast the music. And I'm like, okay, yes, that all sounds great. And yes, I'm doing that. I'm learning how to take up space, but I have so much trauma to unlearn just from being in that marriage, from being in worldwide, being able to relax on a weekend and sleep in and scroll Instagram and not feel guilt and shame about that. I still find myself, and I've only been in the new apartment for about 2 weeks, but I still tense up when I'm like, oh, he's going to walk through the door any minute now and bring his like horrible energy with him and just ruin my peace. Or like I catch myself like recoiling. I have a wonderful bed now. I invested in a nice mattress after sleeping on trash for years. Delayed gratification. Why get a nice mattress when you can get it when you're a platinum? Like that type of stuff. Meanwhile, my back has been screaming for years. Anyway, tangent. I got myself a nice bed, and I catch myself, even with all the space, recoiling and squishing myself onto one side or into a corner because I'm like afraid of like accidentally brushing my foot against his leg, or like rolling onto his side of the bed, or turning down the volume of my phone when I'm listening to an audiobook because he's gonna be like, you turn that down, like just thinking he's gonna walk through the door. He's still disrupting my peace even though he's not physically here, and I have to unlearn all of that. It's like muscle memory. I feel like a college student when they get out of their parents' house and they go crazy for the first like couple of months or years and stuff, because they get to make their own decisions and have autonomy and way less restrictions. It's kind of like that for me, just trying to find the balance of being healthy and responsible, but also having been so controlled for so long that I'm like, no, just do it. Just buy the thing. Just eat the thing. Just drink. Like, I'm trying to find where the boundaries that I'm aware of are making sure that they're mine and that it's like something that I absolutely need to be healthy. Like my restrictions that I have in place are because I feel like I need them, or if they are residual control from someone else.
Yeah, but that's true. And I thank you so much for being vulnerable with that, because it is important to say that, because it's true. There's so many different things that come with healing, let alone from a damn cult, dude. Like it's weird to say that because like I would imagine that you feel the same way. We're the same age. So like I can imagine at no point before this ever happened did you think that you would say the words, I'm having to heal from a fucking cult.
It's still wild.
It is. There's just so much that happens in the cult that causes all of these things to happen. And I know that you have more stories that you kind of wanted to go into.
I think I have a lot of beef with my upline Ruby Larry, just for like promoting a lie about his like who he is and pretending to be my friend for so long. And I really opened up to him about a lot of deep stuff, more than I talked to him about a lot of stuff that I just do not talk to guys about like at all, because I trusted him. And he just like, I don't know, he just lacked a lot of self-awareness, and I felt like he could take advantage of people, and it just sucked. Like he used to live in up in like Seattle, Tacoma area, where the main hub of Worldwide is, and Big Crown Guy and all of those people are. He lives in Texas now. After his mom passed away, he moved down to be with his dad and sister and stuff. And we were at a FED in Vegas. It was always fun because after the pandemic ended, so everybody came to that one, which was not normal because usually the Seattle people would have their FED up there. So we would only see our cross-line cousins at family reunion, but everybody came to Vegas, and it was a huge FED, and it was like a reunion kind of because we had been on lockdown for so long. Some of our cross line from up there were like expressing frustration to me low key after the Sunday night event. So we'd have Sunday portion of the function, and then we'd have an Eagle panel somewhere. And then after that, we'd like hang out at a casino or something just to like get quality time in with upline, and like you could safely cross line because your upline was present. So he organized this hang at a hookah bar restaurant, which isn't very worldwide-y at all.
Yeah. I'm thinking like, I'm trying to imagine worldwide dream builders in a hookah lounge. Like, that's fun.
It's like all of us aren't like stuffy and conservative and stuff. So like a lot of us would go, a lot of us would go on our own outside of a worldwide event. Like that's a place where like people would hang out. But it's just like as a worldwide group, no, that was interesting. But he spent the whole weekend like having my cross line drive him around. So like the expectation was when you fly into town to show the plan for somebody, then like, yeah, they pick you up or they offer to pick you up from the airport, or they make sure you're fed, or like they offer you a place to stay if they can or something like that. And I think he interpreted that as like, we are always indebted to him to always like serve him constantly. So, you know, it's a couple, they rented a car for like the duration of the trip. And like, they basically had to be his chauffeur the whole weekend. And it's like, they're leaving late. They have to wait for him, drop him off at his hotel at like, he wants to go eat late. They want to go to their hotel and sleep and stuff. And it was just like, wow, we really didn't like plan to do this. And they shouldn't have to, because everyone's traveling to this function. You're not like your upline's not traveling to show the plan for you. We're all going to a function. So why are you responsible for like carting someone else around? So not
yeah. What the hell?
Yeah, so she expressed like in a jokey way like frustration, because he was like contemplating moving to LA at that point. He was still living up north, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna move to LA within the next year. And she's like, oh, it's your turn now, you guys enjoy. And I can only imagine like the type of crap they had to deal with him living like close to them. And then also found out after the fact, after this weekend, because it was kind of chaotic, there was like 30 people from his group, like our group, at that hookah bar. And me and my ex got there late because we were tired. I was like, I'm not smoking hookah. I'm not drinking. I just want to stop in and say hi and see everybody and then go to the hotel and go to bed. So we just got water, just kind of sat for a little bit and chatted. Come to find out, because I got a reach out from an upline in between, or no, his upline, actually, his personal sponsors, like either called or texted me to try to get to the bottom of it. It became a huge, he had asked the same girl who's telling me about being his chauffeur, had asked her to put the reservation for the tables on her card. So she's got, you know, tables for 30 people and their orders, putting it all on her card and trying to like organize people Venmoing her and stuff, which is the epitome of cross-lining. Should not happen at all. Meanwhile, you're the rich upline Ruby, right? Why are these table reservations on your downline's card and not yours? Like, it was chaotic. And like, it was a whole thing, like trying to get her like the money back. The people ordered stuff and didn't pay what they should have like contributed and stuff like that. And it was messy, and I think he got in trouble for that. But that's the type of stuff that he would just like lacking in self-awareness. He also used to use, speaking of DB, he used to use this anecdote. I forgot what portion of the plan he was trying to relate to, or maybe it was a teaching about choosing your circumstances and stuff, but he would try to use the metaphor of a woman in an abusive relationship with her boyfriend. He's hitting her. She chooses to stay, and that's the life that she chooses for herself. And I called him out on that, because I was like, that is so incredibly offensive. Like, I sent a Kate up and I was like, look, can you not use that analogy anymore? That doesn't make any sense. That's so offensive, and we're trying to be inclusive to people. If I bring a guest in who's going through that or has been through that and she hears that, she's out, and I have no leg to stand on. Like, that's fucked. That's toxic.
Oh wow. Okay, there's so much to that. Larry, you're a fucking idiot, Larry. Like, I don't even know you, and I fucking hate you just because you said some stupid shit like that. Like, nothing pisses me off more. I mean, there's a lot that pissed me off, but nothing pisses me off more than when men think that they can speak to a woman's situation. I mean, hey, first of all, you're using a woman. You're making us feel like we're inferior for some reason. And yes, I know, statistically speaking, women go through DV more. Okay, so we get that. But not just that, he is so fucking uneducated as to how this whole thing works. I think that you are absolutely right to call him out. Like, good for you. I'm so proud of you because that's some bullshit. None of us choose to stay. We don't choose, right? You're the frog. Yeah, you're brainwashed. You're scared. Your life is so wrapped up into it. I mean, a lot of the times there's financial parts like it's scary to leave as a woman who maybe like this person has a financial hold over you, or maybe like you don't have support from your family, or there's just so fucking much. So, Larry, fuck you, just from me personally, from me to you, buddy. Wow. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I have years and years of stuff that irked me about him, but I always had to stuff it down because, nobody's perfect, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, he's single. He's in his 40s, single, never been married. And this is who my partner was taking advice from, including relationship advice. And I'm like, so you preach about talking to people with fruit on the tree, but you're listening to him about relationships. Like during the end, the night that we had our last argument and he went out and came back at 4 a.m. and I know he was hanging out with him, and then he came back the next morning and was like, I think we should separate. I was like, so what happened? You spoke with Larry, and like what is, I know that you talked about this. He's like, well, yeah, of course I talked to my upline about this. I'm like, well, what did he say? And he's like, well, I mean, that's my business, but he was just saying some of the things that he wouldn't tolerate. And I'm like, oh, what single Larry wouldn't tolerate. Meanwhile, no woman is tolerating him at all. Like that's who you're getting your advice and your wisdom from. That's smart. Love that for us. And then but he, of course, can't see the logic and the fallacies of that. The very next day, no, not the next day, the same day that my ex initiated a separation, I was just in shock. Like I was numb. I couldn't even begin to process. I was just in pain. There was the end of month conference call that was on the last Sunday of every month, and it was supposed to be like the Eagle panel or whatever. And I think we both were like just numb, and like my ex normally would be on like sitting up back straight, Zoom camera on. He's like, I don't really want to plug in today, and he kept the camera off, and we just plugged in that way, kind of off camera, because I still wasn't like, oh, I'm done with the business quite yet. There was a point in the conference call where Larry was hinting at our situation and making jokes about it. Like, this is fresh. This is less than like 24 hours of this happening. That hasn't checked on me, hasn't, like, nothing. He's like, yeah, all in, like using the all in teaching. He's like, I was speaking to someone in my business, the other night, and he's had an argument with his partner. She says that she's all in, but it's like, well, if you're not, not doing this, not doing that, then you're not all in, sweetie. And I'm sitting here thinking about the argument that I had with my ex about how if I'm struggling with my health and emotionally, and I'm still crawling to go forward and be committed to this business that we agreed to do, like we teach all the time about how giving your best looks different each day. Sometimes you can run, sometimes you can crawl, sometimes all you can do is crawl. But as long as you're moving forward, then that's all in. And that was my understanding of all in. Then it was like, well, I can't give as much as I used to, or I can't give as much right now. And all of a sudden I'm not all in because I need different things. I need more support. And then like that was already hurtful enough, but then to hear it be turned into a joke for entertainment purposes on a call immediately after, not months after, like the day that my marriage ended, it was just like, wow, these are the people that I have valued over everyone else. Great.
Wow. Well, and even too, like, because was Larry's upline Bernard and Sharon? Well, I mean, Bernard was single too, as well. And it's like, where were they getting their advice from? I forgot what they call them. The bald guy and his wife, the Ben Emerald for fucking 20 years almost, like that's the upline Emerald that we shared. Like that had to have been like where some of that was coming from. But I feel like a lot of it, they were just winging before they themselves were in some sort of relationship. Where the fuck did Larry think that he had any sort of expertise, if you will, to give advice? Like, and also to say, well, I wouldn't tolerate that. It's like, motherfucker, no one, like you said, no one wants to tolerate you, which I love that, by the way. That was good. But it's true. Like the advice that they're giving is horrible. And they're getting it not just from their own upline, from these fucking books that they're pushing from a motherfucker like Paul Sika. Like, pardon my language. I'm mad.
No, fuck him.
But it's like, damn.
From my research, it's sounding like, and I'm not, I'm not gonna allegedly, he's kind of a pedophile and definitely a cheater.
Yeah. It's wild to me. Like, it's repulsive that this is I hate Larry so much. I've never met this dude. Like, he's bad. He's all bad. But this is worldwide, you guys. This is not just Larry who's like this.
Yeah. So this guy who like really trained us to be so like pretty much worship the ground we walked on. Like, you servant leadership and serve on your upline. They do so much for you and stuff. And like, I don't have to fly down here once a month. Oh, I'm like, yes, you do. If you didn't come down here and show the plan, you'd have no business. Like,
true.
You're not doing us a favor. This is what you agreed to do when we were going through the process and you talked about the partnership and what it looks like. So this is the agreement from the get-go. B, if you stopped sewing into these legs, you would have no legs. So that was just ridiculous. And then like also the like, oh, I wish you guys could be on the beaches of the world with me. Like, I don't have to go to work. I don't set an alarm clock. I can do whatever I want, blah, blah, blah. But you don't do anything interesting. Like, I think the biggest trip he's taken in the last 5 years is to Miami. Like, bruh, it's nonsense. It's just such a sham. Ego, like I've never seen such an inflate. Well, no, my ex has about the same level of ego as him. But the two biggest headed ego pricks I know are the ones that constantly preach to other people and try to teach on the ego and ego death and all that stuff. The ego so big on Larry that he started a series called Self-Development Sunday. So not as if we didn't have enough meetings to plug into. And Sundays are the end of the week. People need to rest. They need to prep for work, school, and stuff the next day. It's just time to like check, just to be peaceful. We already have the conference calls once a month to do on Sundays, which is already annoying enough. But then like to add something else where it's like anything your upline puts on may not be mandatory, but that like you want to go far in the business, any opportunity you have to plug into them is where you should be. So if you have nothing better to do, then you should be at Self-Development Sunday. Like, this isn't a part of core. This isn't a business training. Like, great, one more thing. And of course, he had no boundaries of like time. It's like if a conference call at the end of the month conference call is supposed to be an hour, it would always go like an hour and a half to 2 hours. Then you have the Eagles call after the conference call, and it's like it should only be like a quick 20 to 30-minute check-in and brush up on privileged knowledge, which is stupid in its own sense. But, here we are going till like 8 and 9 p.m. on a Sunday night. So there goes your dinner hour. There goes you getting like rest for work. There goes spending quality time with your family. He just had no boundaries, like no respect for other people, because we were his social life. He had nothing else going on. He had no woman, because I guarantee if you're dating someone, he'd check those meetings real quick to get to her. Yeah, so he started Self-Development Sunday, which was him spewing and teaching all of the knowledge he'd acquired over the course of whatever, as he was a big self-development junkie and read so many books and studied so much meditation and watched all the YouTube videos and stuff. And he felt like he was qualified to teach on it. And it became a thing and people were raving about it. He started passing out more Kates on Reflections of Self-Development Sunday than like actual Kates of business shit. And it was just him like basically teaching his own opinions, nothing certified, nothing, like his own opinions, as people in worldwide tend to do. Just talk and act like you're an expert on something because you have the mic.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't know why this just clicked in my head, but you're right. That literally is worldwide. These people are all just speaking. It's like a big game of telephone. Something comes down from the big crown guy and leadership team or whatever. And it's other people just bullshitting. You're right. Because I bet you Larry, his domestic violence fucking analogy, nobody told him to say that. That just came out of his own fucking head. But I guarantee he probably heard it from somebody else too. Like I could see like the club owner saying some stupid shit like that. You're right.
There's no one to check any of this stuff. It's just like anyone can get up there and say whatever because they have a platform. And it's very, very problematic. Like, Well, I got so frustrated because my ex was an Eagle, so he got to do trainings for our teams and stuff, and that was unchecked, of course. So I tried to check him and be like, you can't just say that stuff. Also, if this is our business, you can't, like, what we're saying and teaching our downline, like we need to be in agreement because you're speaking for our business. So the stuff you post, the stuff that you teach them, like you can't just say what you want to say. And so the one thing I used to get pissed, yeah, at him about was edifying the Kardashians and saying that Kylie Jenner, it was a self-made billionaire, and using her as an example of goals and financial success. And I'm like, are you out of your goddamn mind? Are let's back up and just look at how the Kardashians even became relevant. First of all, they started with money. Second of all, their mother exploited a sex tape of her daughter to make them rich and famous. None of them have talent. They just have a good madam on their team, their mom. She exploits them. Like they have lawsuit after lawsuit of countless times that they have exploited artists and designers of color, stolen their work, and then made bank off of it, and just exploited and appropriated and theft. They already had, like, you're not self-made if you go from millionaire to a billionaire. So stop using her, because I have no respect for that family, and that is just not what I want to promote. And he's like, well, you don't have to agree with it, but I agree with it because, a lot of rich kids, they just they take the money that they have and they just ruin it, they destroy it, or they waste it, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, use any of the other countless actual self-made people examples that are out there versus the freaking Kardashians. Like, oh my God, I would get furious when he would use that in like a meeting.
That's so funny. And everything you say is so true. I cannot stand that family. I mean, like like you said, they're made of money first. I mean, they're the dad, the original dad. What's his name? The OG Kardashian. He was a big attorney. I mean, he represented and was part of OJ Simpson's attorney team. And that's a huge reason why they had so much money. But you're right. As kids, they were exploited, especially because when they started to become relevant, like Kendall and Kylie were still kids. They were being heavily exploited as children. And girl, I agree with you because I cannot stand child exploitation. Like I have a whole spiel on child exploitation, but you're right. They steal a lot from other creators. And there's so many, like you said, other people who they could draw you guys could draw inspiration from to talk about self-made. And they would also say, did they ever use Ray Kroc as an example? Because that's a bad dude. This guy stole McDonald's from the McDonald's brothers to the point where they couldn't even use the fucking name anymore. That's not a guy I want to take after. He stole a business and franchised it. That's what he did. He did not do something that was worth mentioning. Or they mentioned Gary Vee, who I used to think was pretty cool until the guy was doing crypto schemes. Like he's a scam artist, in my opinion, allegedly. Like it's just crazy to me that was the analogy that you use. Cause I'm sure you probably had like 3 or 4 people like, no, this person's better. This person, like any of these people 10 times better than this family. That's wild.
Yeah, seriously. So yeah, but just to bring it back to my point of anyone can get on a Zoom call or in front of the whiteboard and just say shit. Like it doesn't have to be backed up in facts, statistics, evidence, personal experience, anything. They can just talk. And if you're in a trance, if you're brainwashed, then it's like whatever they say is truth and fact. And it's very, very problematic. But Larry, with Self-Development Sundays, he coined the term. He was at the point where he was trying to get approval from his upline to start charging for it, to charging the downline to be a part of these calls, where he was basically regurgitating his opinion tied into some teaching of self-development and spiritual healing and stuff. He wanted to make a separate business out of this. And I'm like, wait, so these calls are an optional opportunity to get around your upline and pick their brain. The whole point of paying the worldwide membership fee monthly is because you have a whole slew of people with different backgrounds and industry experience and knowledge that you get access to for free without having to pay an expert fee to get their insight. And then here you are. So you're supposed to be sharing advice with us, passing it down on Kate and in trainings for free because you want to see us grow and you're our friend. And you're trying to turn this into a scheme to make us pay like an exclusive group to be a part of this. Like it was crazy. I don't think it ever got approved. I don't know what's happened since I left, but I don't think that they okayed that. Because I was like, I'm not paying you to hang out with you on a Sunday and hear this shit. Like that was just wild to me. I'm like, if you're gonna actually withhold knowledge of self-development that you know and keep that from your team because we don't pay you for it, then that's whatever, bro. Like that was he's crazy.
Oh my goodness. So
Yeah,
the memberships and all that wasn't paying him enough? So he's not making enough from worldwide. He's got to come over here and continue to exploit people
exactly.
even further financially. Oh my, I hate Larry so much. So much.
And I used to edify the crap out of him because I was trained to do that.
But I get it though. You know, you were taught for so long that he was this type of way. So no
Yeah.
judgment. I've been there.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that he did was when he destroyed our business. So we hit 4,000 PV during the pandemic in 2020. And it was really big because that was when I was telling my mom this. It's like, she was like, well, you just didn't see, like, we supported you because that's what you were doing, but like, you just didn't see that, like, you didn't see what it was for what it was. And I'm like, well, why would I, mom? Like, I busted my butt. I was running as hard as my ex was at this. We were making waves. Like, we were the couple that was used as an example. We were like, for sure, the couple that was going to go like start a platinum run soon, like crossing pins. We kept leveling up. We were on our way to double eagle ship. We hit 4,000 PV. Like all of our cross centers were like, what the hell are they doing? Like, what, how do we get to that level? And we're like, oh, for sure. Like we went 1,000, we went 25, we went 4,000 in a pandemic. And I had no reason to doubt that this works or that like we would be hitting our goals soon. So right after we went 4,000 and we broke our first Eagle downline as Eagles, that was big. Like, it's feeling successful in something like that, especially when the world is shut down. That's some endorphin producing shit. Larry comes up with this harebrained idea because he was so desperate to start his Emerald run. He also he'd already broken a platinum downline. And then he had my upline, our personal sponsors, Adam and Amanda. They were very close to starting silver because we were the majority of their PV. We were 4,000 pins, so they were somewhere around 6,000 something. So they were very close to going silver. And then he had another leg up in Seattle that was about neck and neck with Adam and Amanda. So he gets us all together and says, this is my idea. You have some like heavy hitters, you have the people that are really honoring the partnership. I believe that we can become an Emerald organization before family reunion, and that I can speak and like I represent you guys. He's like, let's do this. So he breaks it down and basically advises us to pressure our downline into coming up with more money to spend on PV, categorizing them and like boosting them up and manipulating them to feel like you're either, there were two names. It was like All Stars and something else, something like secondary. All Stars, we believe in you that you can run 350 PV or whatever it was. And whatever the second category was, is like, we believe you can hit like 250 or 300 PV, whatever it was. It was a stretch and people were already at their like maxing out their budget to run like just to honor the partnership. But we boosted up their egos and complimented them so much to guilt trip them basically into spending more than they could afford to put us into 4,000 PV, put Adam and Amanda into silver, and to get the other leg into silver, to get Larry into Emerald. And it happened. And it was like, wow, that really happened. We crossed, we hit the pin, blah, blah, blah. He spoke at family reunion. And then we all slipped right back out of qualification immediately after. And instead of like lingering around where we were, which was a healthy like 3,500 PV before he did that stunt, our business continued to slip like gradually down over the next 2 years. It was like, okay, well, we're not 4,000, but like 37 is fine. It was like 37, 35, 31, 29, 24. Okay, shit. Well, we're not 25s anymore, but at least we'll never be under 1,000. 12,000, 1,900, 800. And then we stayed around like 7 between like 6 to 800 for like a year, and it never got
Wow.
that. And he never apologized. He never took accountability for it. Turns out he had never counseled with his upline about the idea. They came to us like a year later, like, what's going on with your business? Why aren't you guys, why hasn't it picked up? Like, what's happening? And almost kind of like blamed, like Bernard called Luke on the phone and like kind of questioned him, as like almost accusing him and us for our business like lacking for so long. And Luke still didn't throw Larry under the bus, even though it was on him. There was never any apology or like, damn, that was really stupid and I fucked up your numbers because I was selfish. That was just like, I definitely held some resentment for that. But Jack, of course, was like, well, you just need to let that go. Like, we have to take accountability for our own business. Yeah. Even though we would like vent to each other about our frustrations and rant and like stuff like that behind closed doors, whenever we would come to a conversation with our upline, Jack. Yeah, whenever we would go in front of our upline, if we would like try to relay our, like, I'd say, all right, let's talk to them about this. Let's get it off our chest. Let's make sure the air is clear. Let's have these tough conversations. All of a sudden it would be like, oh, no, I appreciate it. I'm grateful for what you guys do. I think Nandi had some concerns though. Yeah, this was more Nandi's. She doesn't speak for me. I'm fine. Nandi has an issue with stuff though. And then it would look like I was emotionally immature and like couldn't like, I was blaming people for my problems and stuff. It really sucked. Always feeling alone, thrown under the bus, and abandoned in conversations where I thought we would be a united front. Yeah, that's the type of shit that Larry would do. And then my ex was mimicking him in all aspects of life.
Wow. Larry, I can't say this enough. I've never met Larry. And normally I would be like, don't judge somebody I don't know, but I don't need to meet Larry to know that he's a shitty person because of all these things. Plus, he's a leader in worldwide. Like, that says it all. And like, I struggle with that where I'm like, oh, like, there's still people who are brainwashed in the business, but they're still manipulating people. So it's like, where does the accountability start and kind of end, which is so weird. But Larry's an asshole, nevertheless. That is a lot. And
Yeah.
just between your ex and Larry, those are just two people in your organization who really just that were fucked up. That's a lot. We've been going for an hour and I'm just thinking about like we've just gone over these two people. Like, that's so crazy. But it makes sense. And I'm so sorry that you experienced that and didn't have power during that time because I mean, to me, you seem like a super powerful person, just like somebody who can, speak your truth. And I'm happy that now you get to do that because fuck these people. Like,
And thank you again for like creating this environment for me and other people to share. Because yeah, that we are silenced and that right does get taken from us when we leave. And all we can do is hope that people inside wonder what happened to us and go looking and finally hear our side of things. But unfortunately, that's probably not the case because we're taboo. We're like the poisoned apple, like, don't touch them. You're going to get cooties from them. So I don't know, like, the cross-lining thing, like they're not going to look for us. But I do hope that like all of our collective cross lines and uplines and downlines do hear our stories one day and at least hear the truth. What they decide to do with that is up to them.
right. All they can do is hear you out. Like, I think that at the very least, that's fair to anybody who was out there and who pretended to care about us. Like, we've considered Crossline. We've talked about that where we've thought about Crossline and thinking about like, oh, how are they doing? I want to reach out with that fear of, are they still in the business? And unfortunately, some of them still are. We think about them. They don't, unless like deep down they might be like, oh, like I remember this person. Ha ha ha. But quite literally, the next day after somebody leaves, nobody's talking about them again. They come up with some sort of like PR explanation just to make it look good. That's only too if it was somebody who was important. Nobody talks about them. That's it. If you were somebody who was downline from somebody else, right? And let's say you didn't have a partner, you didn't really grow any sort of downline and you left, that was it. Nobody had a conversation about it beyond that. And that's bullshit because you are a person and you matter.
Part of it is they keep you from like being in each other's business. Another part of it is like you go through so many freaking people, like you forget. It's like you eventually do just become a number. Yeah. And then part of it is like, don't ask, it's none of your business.
Yeah, that very much like I hate to use this term, but it very much is that don't ask, don't tell kind of situation where if you're asked about it, like your upline will just kind of give you some generic answer, basically saying it's none of your fucking business nicely. But you almost have that fear of like, you don't want to ask. Like you want to, but you don't want to because you don't want to be that person who just seems like they want to gossip. When 9 times out of 10, we're not here to like, we don't want to gossip. We genuinely want to know because we cared about these people. You know, these are people we saw so fucking often. I swear to God, I would see them.
Cheered them on. You screamed yourself hoarse when they crossed stage. You saw them all the time. You saw them more than your own friends and family. Often like. And then all of a sudden they're just gone and it's like, you're not even allowed to ask. You're not allowed to reach out to them and check on them.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I really am excited that you came back because I love everything that you have to say and you are welcome back literally anytime because I guarantee we didn't even scratch the surface with all these little notes.
I'm like scrolling through it now. I'm like, oh, nope, didn't say that. That.
Hey. I'm saying you're more than welcome. We can touch like anytime you want to speak. This platform is all you. Like I hate the fact that, like you said, like that we were suppressed for so long. And I think that too is why I felt it was so important to, towards the beginning, talk about the narcissism aspect, especially like you said, Nandi, you're a survivor of narcissistic abuse. Nobody can take that from you. No one has a right to take that from you. Those are your thoughts, opinions, and feelings, and that's valid.
Yeah, I agree. Like I have to heal from all of that. And like, I'm not getting an apology from him or them. So why should I apologize for telling my side of the story?
Exactly. Well, thank you again so much for your time. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Did you have any last thoughts for the viewers or where they can follow you and how they can support your journey?
Yeah, I'm Instagram, I_am_Nandi. Yeah, I just encourage people to live their truth. I know it can feel like you're alone when you're healing from something traumatic like an abusive relationship or an abusive lifestyle, like being in a cult, like worldwide group. Yeah, just find those communities and like be a support. Like when you get to a place in your healing that you can reach back and help the next person up and like grab their hand, like do it. Like that's such a huge drive for me, is to be able to be what I needed during the worst parts of this, during the most painful, scariest parts of this trauma. It was like not feeling alone and like having more resources. And like, I want to create that for the next person. Sadly, there will be a lot of next people. And it's bittersweet, but yeah, I want to be that community for them. So if you're going through anything like this, happy to chat. And I know Danny is great at chatting and listening and validating. So yeah, find your people and share your
We are
story.
here for you. Yes. Absolutely. We are. And I always say this, like ex-worldwide people are going to be your biggest supporters. Like if you have like a small business or if you have like something, anything, we are definitely going to be your biggest supporters because we know what it's like to have that false sense of security, that false support. So that's what we're here for. And again, I appreciate your kind words so much, but it's you guys who are telling your stories that really mean absolutely the most to me. I cannot speak enough to how much it really means to me. So if you guys want to be like Nandi and share your story, please DM me on Instagram at xsnt.podcast. You guys can find me on TikTok at the same handle. Find me on Spotify and everywhere else that podcasts are heard. We will catch you guys in the next episode.